Thank you for tuning in. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. We hope your experience is fruitful. Please feel free to visit our website to find out how you can join our growing family. While we are loading your experience, please do us a quick favor and hit that like button from whichever platform you're watching or listening on. Also, share so others may enjoy as well. And we hope you would consider hitting that subscribe or follow button so you can check out more of our amazing content. All right, let's start the show.
Hello and greetings, beautiful people of the interwebs. It's Camille Telicia back live. Yes, I'm here live with another episode of Camille Over Chai. And today it's just me. It's a solo show, and we are going to be talking all about the art of giving yourself grace. So you know what to do. Grab your cup of chai or not chai and join me back here for Camille Over Chai. Hey, y'all. Happy Monday. How is everybody doing? When I tell you I've missed you guys, you may have noticed we did a couple reruns for a couple weeks in a row. And I am grateful for the grace that y'all gave me to allow that to happen. I hope you enjoyed rewatching some of my favorite interviews that we've done so far on Camille Over Chai. But I am back and I'm excited. We will be off next week for Indigenous Peoples Day. So you have 1 week of me and then we'll take a little break and then I'll be back again. But right now we're back today and it's me and trying this thing that I would like to do once a month now where we're just doing a solo show. Hey, Cupcakes. Why did I almost read your comment and say, hey, Camille, to myself? Hey, Cupcake. Thank you for being here. Thank you with me live today. So yeah, guys, we're going to be doing a solo show. I'm going to try to come up with a cute name for it. I don't have it today, but it's a solo show. I'm just going to be talking to you guys about whatever is on my heart, whatever is in my spirit today. And what came up today for me was the art of giving yourself grace. And I'm looking forward to having this conversation and just sharing what notes I have and then allowing spirit to share whatever else comes up inside of this conversation. I think it'll be fun. And I really would love to hear from you guys yes, come on now, chai shots, yes. But I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments. So this is the day. This is going to be the type of episode to talk back. Like definitely jump in the comments, put what you're thinking, put your thoughts, put your feedback, your reactions in real time. I want to be having a conversation with you because this is Camille Over Chai after all, right? So I got to give you a little more Camille on the show. That's the intention. All right, now that we've gotten all that out of the way, let's get into the first thing, which is, of course, what are we sipping on today? And this is where I want to hear from you guys first. What are y'all sipping on today? Today, I have my Pisces mug because I'm just really in my Pisces energy with giving yourself grace and being in flow, maybe being a little bit emotional. So I brought out my nice little Pisces mug. But of course, you know, we do have the This Is Not Chai mug that is for sale over at Camille Over Kai. CamilleOverChai.com /shop. And if you guessed it, this is not chai today, okay? This is, I don't even know what, a fruity wine. That's what we got today because we're giving ourselves grace, yes? This is the first day I've had off in like 10 days, so I'm going to enjoy it. Oh, but see, Kwame trying to show us all out by being healthy and drinking lemon water. Well, God bless you. And all right, y'all, listen, next week, don't come here with that water. Don't come here with the healthy stuff. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, y'all. Do what works best for you. Dr. Ho also drinking water. Okay. God bless. God bless y'all. I got the Jesus juice today. Yes, please and thank you. All right. All right. So, what we're sipping out of the way. Let's talk about this giving yourself grace and the art of it. I'm getting a little warm here, y'all. That's why the hair is pushing back. Do y'all like the new vibes? Okay. Last time you saw me, I had braids. That's how long it's been. So, what I want to talk about today is how we can give ourselves grace in just various areas of our life. Yes, please, Jesus juice next week. Please and thank you, red or white. I don't judge. Today I'm on white. Next week I might be on red, or I'll be on chai. Who knows? Thank you. Yes. Okay. I was trying to do like a pink blonde with a little bit of like cinnamon in it. The pink did not come out pink. It's more red. And that's okay because I think it is giving what it needs to give for the season. So thank you for appreciating that, cupcakes. Yes. All right. So y'all see the talking back and forth. I'm here for it. This is going to be a good time today. Let's start out with there's a quote that I read. Kwame, that's the cue for the quote. So there's a quote that I read that really, I think, kind of prompted some of this. And it says, growing up, I never knew a relaxed woman. Successful women, yes. Productive women, plenty. Anxious and afraid and apologetic women, heaps of them. But relaxed women, at ease women, women who aren't afraid to take up space in the world, women who prioritize rest and pleasure and play, women who give themselves unconditional permission to relax without guilt, without apology, without feeling like they need to earn it. I'm not sure I ever met a woman like that, but I would like to become one. Excuse me, I would like us all to become one. So that is the quote, Nicola Jane Hobbs. Y'all, excuse me, y'all can read it on the screen there. Thank you for putting that up, Kwame. So that energy is what inspired today's conversation. Not this entire thing, but this energy about, and this applies to more than just women, by the way, but of course they were speaking about that. And I do want to talk about that whole Black superwoman complex concept that we have, but that sort of energy of allowing yourself to rest, allowing yourself to enjoy life, allowing yourself to be productive when you want to be, but then also have that balance of doing absolutely nothing when that also feels really good to you as well, right? So that to me is a little bit of how I would define giving grace, but I'm a little bit of a nerd, okay? So I like to get a little technical. So the definitions of grace, right, that are according to Google. I didn't go to Webster, I went to Google. We have number one, it's a definition, I'm sorry, simple elegance or refinement of movement. So, you know, when they say, oh, she moves with such grace, her legs are elongated if she's a ballerina or something like that, right? That's that. Then there's also courteous goodwill. I like that one. Then there is also to do honor or credit to someone or something by one's presence, right? Just simply like I grace them with my presence. So those are the official definitions of grace. But the grace that we're going to be talking about today, and this is what I came up with, and this might even change as we're talking about, this is what felt good at the moment, was honoring someone, and that someone can also be yourself, right? Through showing goodwill and compassion inside of a situation, especially when that person feels like they are at their most unelegant, right? So basically, I took all of the little definitions of all the pieces of the grace definition and combined it into something that really applies to what we're talking about today. And now, y'all in the comments, so I'm about to see what we're talking about. Hello, I'm Cupcake, and I take naps and random hot tub soaks with zero apologies. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I miss having a jacuzzi tub because that was life. Dr. Holt says something I need to learn how to do, rest. Yes, Dr. Holt. So for you, that is going to be one of your definitions of how you give yourself grace is to rest. And I don't know if you know that rest can be taking a nap. It can be sitting on the couch watching television. It can be having a cup of Jesus juice or a glass of water. One of my favorite things to do, y'all, honestly, sometimes even when I work late at night, I park my car and I sit in the car for like 10 minutes and just like scroll my phone. It's like that in between time before you get out of the car and go into the house and start the next thing or complete whatever experience you had that you were driving back from. And it's like that just limbo period, 10 minutes. I'm not gonna lie to you. Sometimes I've sat in the car for 30 minutes and then I look up and I'm like, what are we doing here? But even just having a little bit of car time, I promise you, try it. Put on some music, don't put on music, whatever feels good to you. The car is not moving, so you don't have to be focused. You're not trying to be aware of what's going on. You're just in a closed space and you can pretend nobody that can see you. If you got tint, maybe they really can't see you. Nobody else is around and you just do whatever you want to do. Yes, car therapy. Hello, you understand, Cupcake. Kwame used to do that before he got to his corporate job. Oh, you went before. He said, I need my car therapy before I enter the building. Mine is like end of day. Yours is before. It's no problem. But that car time, that is an opportunity for rest also, Dr. Holt. So you have your assignment and I can't wait to hear what you come back with on your rest game. Please and thank you. Okay, so when I was just thinking about this topic, I was like, what are the areas? Like, how can I really structure a conversation about grace, right? And I was thinking about the different areas in which we can give ourselves grace. These are a few, and the ones that came to my mind. So, of course, work. Kwame was just talking about before with his corporate job, right? What he had to do before he got into the office to give himself a little grace, right? There's grace in your health journey. There's grace in romantic relationships. There's grace in parenting. There's grace inside of your friendships. There's grace inside of being a business owner and being an entrepreneur. So there's all these different areas where you can give yourself grace. And then in addition to giving yourself grace, what happens is that you give other people grace in the same token. Ideally, if you have done the work, it is a lot easier for you to in turn give other people grace in those same spaces and areas, right? And so the reason why that quote that I had Pami put up before spoke to me was because I was really thinking about, especially that workspace, but also friendship spaces as well and relationship spaces with not giving ourselves grace, because there's this concept of being this superwoman, being this perfectionist, being excellent, right? Like we love to big up Black excellence. We love to big up people who are doing amazing things. We love to big up these people who just do something and they do it well. And you're like, oh my God, you're amazing, you're amazing, you're amazing. And it's like, it's wonderful when we get to show up in our excellence and in our amazingness. It feels amazing. It feels great. But what about those times when we aren't able to do that, where it just either we're not capable or we don't have the capacity that day, or we don't have enough information, like whatever the case is, where is the grace that we're allowing ourselves? And I'm really speaking like to yourself, but we can also apply this to other people again, right? But where are you allowing yourself grace in those times to not be the superwoman today, to not be the superman today, to not be the super person today, right? To not be excellent. And it's not because you're not overall an excellent person, but today you were just not on your excellence game. Like, where is the opportunity for grace inside of that space? Where is the opportunity for you not to always be perfect, right? So that's part of the conversation. And if any of you guys have any experiences with this feeling, like you've had these feelings before where you're like, dang, I wasn't perfect today. Dang, I didn't do that right. I wasn't operating in my excellence today. I'd love for you to put your stories in the chat while I'm also sharing what came up for me. So I have a few examples. And I'm trying to think about which one I want to start with first. Okay, so most recently, yesterday, one of the places I work is an event venue, and there was this event called Choir Rehearsal with Friends. It's an amazing event, gospel music. We just all the audience is the choir basically, so everybody's singing and participating. But there was a moment where we were singing a new song. I was working, but they were singing a new song, right? And there was like a little tricky part. Don't ask me the song, y'all. I don't remember. Okay. There was a little part that was a little bit tricky. And the first go round, they didn't get it quite right. There was like a little run or like a change in key or whatever it was, the words, we didn't get it quite right. People started looking around like, oh, and he said, hold on now. This is rehearsal, right? So this is where we do the practice. We give ourselves the opportunity to actually learn the song. We don't have it perfect. This is not the performance. And I thought about how often in life we are all walking around as if every opportunity, every moment is our performance moment. And we never give ourselves a chance to actually be in rehearsal, to actually learn, to do something for the first time, to get something not right the first couple of times, to not be perfect at it, right? Growing up, my family is Jamaican. My parents are from Jamaica, immigrants here, so I'm a first generation American. And one of the things that was always beat into me, and I don't mean that do I? I don't mean that literally, okay? But one of the things that was always drummed into me was how you have to be excellent. We all know it. You have to work 3 times as hard to be considered just as good as other people. And I realized that as I became an adult, as I was becoming an entrepreneur, as I was showing up in these spaces, I always had that messaging of like, it has to be perfect. You have to do this, you have to do that, all these shoulds and have to be's. And there was never any room for me to actually give myself grace or even acknowledge, like, hey, this is the first time you've ever done anything like this. This is the first time you are trying something like this. You've not had an example of this. You have not had somebody else who's done this and shown you the way. You haven't had some mentorship around this just yet. This is your first time. And it is okay for you not to initially, right out of the gate, be 3 times as good, especially if you're comparing yourself to the person who actually has been doing this for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, right? And there was a lot of conversation that I was having with myself during that time where it was like just beating myself up, beating myself up, beating myself up, no room for grace until finally, and I don't know if y'all have seen my story and conversations with Tasha or maybe on here or just in general on the show of just, how I did end up getting some support, getting some mentorship, getting some coaching. And it started me on another journey of what we're talking about today, giving yourself grace. So again, I'm putting the question out there. How many of you guys have dealt with that whole like pressure of perfectionism and the pressure of trying to show up and be excellent and the pressure of being the super person, the superwoman, the superman, the super being, and how did that impact you? How did that show up? So if y'all have some answers or you have some thoughts about that, go ahead and drop them in the comments. Yes, Dr. Holt, you definitely have to try car therapy. I'm just going back to the comments really quick. You just did that to try and not go off on Senorita Lopez. Oh, that sounds like some work things. Okay. Dr. Holt said, honey, for me and my cousins, we were kind of stressed out growing up, especially with our grandparents. We're so well respected in the community. Yeah, because you're trying to protect somebody else's legacy without even getting a chance to build your own first. Yeah, that sounds very, very stressful. And have you worked through that, Dr. Holt? What have you done? How have you given yourself grace now? Moving out of that situation, just out of curiosity, if you care to share, right? Okay, so I'm just looking at the time, like, okay, so yeah, so we're talking about grace, talking about the perfectionism. So even doing this episode today, right? And I think there was a solo episode I did a month ago, let's say, where I was talking about intentional leadership. Can I tell y'all how before the episode, during the episode, after the episode, the judgment, the self-criticism, the self-judgment, I forgot what it is to give myself grace, even in putting that show together. I was like, okay, I want to talk about these things, and these things are good. They're important points to make. And then it was like, well, how should I deliver them? What should I say? Did I deliver it well? Was I interesting? Was I fun? Like all of that conversation, right? And so part of the way that I, excuse me, I'm giving myself grace in being on having the show is doing this solo episode again, just continuing to show up and remind myself that it is okay not to be perfect, not to feel like I have to be Oprah the first time I come on and do a solo show. And even though I could use the excuse, right? Like, oh, excuse me, you've had a show before, you've been doing these things, you should know how to do this stuff. But it's like, just like there's opportunities to learn the first time, there's also opportunities to relearn. If you've taken a break from something, you can come back and relearn. Like, you don't have to be perfect the first time out of the gate just because you used to do it. I remember, even I was a runner back in the day in high school, I ran track. If we were in off season, when you come back at the start of the season to start training again, you are not going to be as fast as you were at the end of the previous season. Like, you have to retrain. The muscles have to get, I don't know if they're retrained, but they have to get sharpened up again, right? They have to be strengthened. They have to be worked. You have to be stretched. You have to get back into the group of things. And so that is something else that you get to remind yourself of, right? Is that, hey, just because you have done this before doesn't mean that the first time you come back to it, you have to be on it again. Excuse me. All right, so back to the comments. Dr. Holt says, our grandparents gave us grace, actually. They would tell us, do our own thing, but do it well. So that made it better. Oh, that's really good. They still put a little pressure with the do it well, but at least they gave you space to find your own path. So I love that. I'm really happy to hear that. Some of us went to four-year colleges, technical school, military, some own businesses. Okay, clearly you became a doctor. So, okay, did some things. Did you feel pressure, Dr. Holt, to become a doctor, or was that something that naturally you wanted to do because of the examples that you may have had inside of your community and your family and space? That's another follow-up question for the conversation we're having today. Kwame says, it was hard to balance dealing with negativity, how I used to deal with it because I have other brands and a company to be concerned about. So I definitely relate to Dr. H on that in a way. Yes. Is that internal negativity, Kwame, or is that from external sources? Because those are like two different things, right? And I don't know. Sometimes I feel like the self-talk can sometimes be more detrimental momentarily than than that external negative conversation, right? Because it's just the things that we can say to ourselves. Like, I know that I can be so super self-critical, super duper, because there's this expectation, this level of how I envision myself and who I want to be. So it's like great. It's like I think it's great that I have goals of excellence, but I also think that there is an opportunity for me to remember that it's a goal and it's not an immediate state of where I am right now. Not come. I listen. I saw pull that back up. No, not busting a cap on people, but those people have nothing to lose. I do. Oh, absolutely. That's mm. Dealing with people who don't have the same stakes as you is always like that. You know, Michelle tells us when they go low, we go high. But then who was the one who said when they go low, we go lower? I think it's just you sometimes you got to decide. Like you just there are going to be days where going lower is the thing that really feels the best, and it's going to be days where going higher is what keeps you aligned with your actual goals and and just who you are and your impact and legacy. So Dr. Holt says, my doctor is in educational leadership, so I became a teacher, now assistant principal. Originally wanted to be a medical doctor though. God bless you, Dr. Holt, because let me tell you something. I'm just thinking about that medical doctorate, and there was like a brief 2-week period, I think, in freshman year of undergrad for me, where I also thought that maybe I could be a medical doctor. And then I took freshman chemistry and almost flunked out of college on that class. So I had to let that dream go real quick. So kudos to you for also finding your best path to becoming a doctor that worked for you, right? He said he followed his grandmother and mom's footsteps, volunteered at the Boys and Girls Clubs, and that's what made you change. Oh, okay. So you didn't have the same uh, science issues that I did. So I love that. I love that. Yes. Oh, cupcakes. Listen, sometimes when they go low, we go to hell is necessary. Yeah. Yeah. It is. It is. Unless, no, we're not going to talk about that. We're not going to talk about that. Y'all, I feel like Kwame and Kyrie probably already touched on the Erica Mena because that's what that made me think of immediately when you said that cupcake. So we're not even going to talk about that today, but heard and agree on occasion. Mm. Biology, chemistry, and okay, so you can come tutor me, Dr. Holt, then afterwards, just in case I may want to pursue that one day. Okay, y'all. So when we're about to go to commercial break because when we get back, we're actually going to talk about the other side of this conversation, which is actually how to give yourself grace, because it doesn't make sense for us to start and just talk in this sort of like high level be graceful, da 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 da, be nice to yourself without any action steps. So that's what we're going to talk about when we get back. So now is the time to get a refill or actually change your beverage to something, that is not chai and also not water if you want to have a little fun for the second half of the show. Otherwise, stick around and we will be right back for the rest of Camille over chai.
In a world filled with diversity, where radical faith and progressive believers come together, there's a place that's breaking all boundaries and embracing believers from all walks of life. Bullet and Flight Radio, where believers unite, boundaries break, and love triumphs. Step away from the chaos and noise of your daily life. Experience moments for yourself that are calm, serene, and full of peace. A necessary respite to foster growth within you, because self-care should be luxurious. Luxe Noir.
Welcome back, y'all. Cupcakes. That's not true. You can drink your water as long as it's after you've had your Jesus juice. What are we talking about? I'm just kidding. So welcome back, guys. Today we are talking again about the art of giving yourself grace here on Camille over chai. Okay, sweet tea is better. Thank you, cupcakes. If you saw our commercials here on Pyro Media Network, please make sure that you take a moment to like, subscribe, hit the bell, follow us. Make sure that you stay in the loop. Did you know that Pyro has a Patreon now? And you can subscribe. I believe it's $5 a month for the Patreon to become a member and get more exclusive, flaming hot fire Pyro Media Network content that is exclusive just to our Patreon followers. And we also have a text line so that you can be notified when we go live, when things are happening, when the fire is ablazing. So all you got to do is text Blaze to 833-793-2423 to stay connected, to get notifications, and to just, be a part of the Pyro Media fam. That's all we want. We just want to grow the family, y'all. So those are all of the tips and little extra things that we want to say. We got the link here. Thank you, Cupcakes, for the Pyro Patreon. Get my words right, y'all. So make sure you head over there, check that out. The first episode, oh my gosh, Kwame, don't kill me. What was the name of the show? Friday was the first episode live on our Patreon. And yes, if y'all missed it, you can subscribe. I believe you can still go check it out. I may be mistaken on that. I might be speaking out of turn. I apologize if I am, but they're going to correct me in the comments in a moment. Pyro Cocktail Hour is what it was called. And that happened on this past Friday. So if you join the Patreon, you'll be able to definitely catch the next one for sure. So just a little tip on that. Okay. Let's get back into the combo, y'all. So I'm referring back to my notes because I always do notes because the way my memory is set up, I will have a lot of ideas in my head and I don't always remember everything. So if you see me looking down, as y'all know, it's because I'm checking out my notes about what I want to talk about with y'all. So we talked about the definition that I came up with for what grace is in the scope and space of this conversation. I'm just going to reread it again, right? So grace is honoring someone, can be yourself or somebody else, through showing goodwill and compassion inside of a situation, especially when that person feels like they are at their most unelegant, right? Okay. And so that is what we were talking about today in the art of giving yourself grace. And I also just want to clarify, because I think a lot of times when people think about, oh, I'm giving myself grace, I'm giving myself space, it's like, grace is not an excuse to be careless. It's not saying like, oh, I didn't do these things, so it's all right because I'm giving myself grace. That's not what giving yourself grace is. It's not an excuse to be careless. It's not an excuse to not course correct, to not adjust your behavior if you're impacting other people. It is an opportunity to offer yourself forgiveness, offer yourself space for growth. Grace is an opportunity to offer empathy, whether it is to yourself or to somebody else. And grace is an opportunity to offer understanding, right? Because one of the things that I see a lot of is we pretend like we can't relate to other people. And I say we generally, I'm not even necessarily talking to anybody here, okay? And specifically, but it's like, excuse me. We pretend like we can't relate. Like we pretend like we've never forgotten something. We pretend like we've never messed up somewhere, made a mistake, or we pretend like we've never had error in judgment. Even when we see people do these things that we know they probably did something wrong. Like they probably know more than likely that that wasn't the best choice. But how many of us have always 1000% of the time made the right decision every single time? And the answer is none. None of us have. We are all human, right? Excuse me. So grace is really giving yourself, giving other people permission to be human. So when we're talking about that, so that's essentially what I mean when I say grace. I'm gonna look at these comments because I see somebody got some fruit punch. Oh yeah, look at y'all. See, next week the fruit punch is gonna have some rum in it. That's all we need. We just need a little something extra, and then we're all gonna have a great time over Camille over chai. Okay, so let's get into some actual actionable items and ways that people can actually give yourself grace in real ways. So again, I gave you all these. It's not this, it's not that. What is it, right? So the first thing I have, what do I have here? 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I got 4 things and then sub things. So here we go. The first way to give yourself grace is to take ownership of whatever the situation is. And I know you're like, well, what is, like, how is that giving myself grace? Because when you take ownership of something, of a situation, of sorry y'all, text coming through. Okay. When you take over ownership of a situation, you actually get to take back your power, which is, I know it sounds so cliche, but it's like when you take ownership of something, right? Like you made a mistake or something didn't work out. Just taking ownership of the role you played. And it's not even saying that it's your fault. Ownership is not taking the blame and taking fault, but it's taking ownership of the things that you actually have control over, the things that you have power of. And it's acknowledging your impact, right? It's acknowledging that you played a role in this scenario one way or the other, right? So you take ownership, one. Number two, asking yourself what is actually true. And this is a big one for the things that feel more emotionally charged, because when our emotions get involved, right, in situations, we start to sort of exaggerate things. Things get a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller, whatever the case is. And so we're not always completely looking at the facts. And this, I get, honestly, this almost could be a sub point to ownership, but we're going to make it separate because I made it separate. So it's like, and I'm gonna romantic relationships this, right? I'm talking about myself, y'all. But if something is, let's say you didn't get a call, like you haven't heard from your partner all day, or something is going on, or whatever, you start creating a whole scenario in your head, getting very sad and like, oh my gosh, what are, like questioning things, whatever. It's like, I personally, in the past, what I have done, like I have to stop myself and say, okay, so what do we actually know is true about this scenario right now? What are the facts about this situation? This is the truth. One, you haven't heard. Two, does that mean XYZ? No, all it means is there has not been communication. And so there's an opportunity for you to actually gain more information, right? Three, it's hello, thank you, Kwame. You understand? Like it becomes a whole scenario, right? And it's like, what do I know? Like, what conversation did we have yesterday? Wasn't there a conversation that they were going to be doing this, and this today? And is that possibly a reason why maybe they weren't able to pick up the phone, or maybe they didn't get a chance to answer? And also, what happens when when it's actually the roles are reversed. Here, hello. When it's me, if I'm busy, am I always accessible on the phone in the moments, right? Like, am I always going to answer a text message back immediately if I have five different things going on? Likely not. Does it mean that I would be any less interested and committed to our relationship in that moment? No, it does not. So why am I creating a scenario where that is now the reality for them when it's in this situation? And so taking a look at what is actually true, what are the facts, and not exaggerating through sadness or longing or shame or guilt, right? So if we take the romantic stuff out of it and it's something at work, you made a mistake at work, right? Or maybe you missed a deadline or something at work, and you start shaming yourself, guilting yourself, and it's like, oh my God, the end of the world, and this is the worst thing that ever happened, and blah 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 blah. And it's like, okay, is that true? Is that true? And the reason why you ask yourself that is because then the follow-up question is, so now that I know that that is not true and the world is not over, where is my opportunity to adjust and course correct, or ooh, I just lost the word, y'all. Make things right. Let's call it that. There's a word for it, but we just adjust, course correct, make things right. Because once you identify that, again, it takes a lot of the sting out of it. You're in your power, right? You've already taken ownership. So you know what you can control, you know what's true, and now you know how you can adjust for the situation. And you don't have to make the adjustment today unless it is something time sensitive, but you know, okay, now I can adjust. And then the last thing is getting clear on what the actual desired goal is, right? Because if the goal is something that is bigger than this one little mistake, you blowing it up out of proportion, beating yourself up, woe is me, not giving yourself grace, shaming yourself, judging yourself, criticizing yourself does not help with the end goal. Like, say I had been so disappointed in my first solo episode last month that I said, oh, I will never do one again. I'm going to quit the show. It's over, blah, blah, blah. Like, is any of that true? No, none of it's true. And it also has now taken me so far away from my actual goal, which is to have a successful show, which y'all enjoy, which is great for Pyro Media Network. Like it completely takes me off course. And so now I gotta find my way back to reality. So that is the way that in any scenario, really, y'all, you guys can give yourself grace. I know Cocoa, cupcakes, Lord, God bless me. Cupcakes was giving us some notes, keeping track. Should to take ownership, number one. Two, asking yourself what's really true. Three, where is the room for adjustment, right? Adjusting. Was that three? That might have been 2.5. Three is actually reviewing the desired and no. Circle back, y'all. This is why you probably should just drink water when you're doing the show. Okay, take ownership. Ask yourself what's really true. Three, identify rooms for adjustment, course correction, making it right. And 4, realigning with the desired goal. Yes. Let's get into these comments, y'all, because clearly my notes are complete on that. Let me see here. Really like the movie Chicago. Okay, I'm not sure what that's referencing. Oh, Dr. Holt said, my grandfather always told us that mistakes help develop keys to success. I love that because mistakes are really just like opportunities for learning and for growth. If you really, really look at it, because it's, you figure out either what doesn't work, what definitely won't work, or the wrong way to do something, however you want to phrase it. And so you can also learn a lot from mistakes. So I love that. That's great. Insight from Grandpa. Cupcakes, thank you so much. I've received that energy. I am doing my best, honey. Kwame says most people quit too soon, right before a blessing or breakthrough. Don't listen to the noise. Yeah, and sometimes your own brain is the noise. Okay. We aren't saying the source of the noise, just that you should not listen to it. Cupcake, don't change your name to Coco. It's okay. You know, don't do it on my mistake account unless you like it. If you like it, you can keep it. If not, send it right back. Okay. Um, for those of you who are keeping track again on the steps to giving yourself grace, number 3 was identifying the room for adjustment, course correction, or how you can make the situation right depending on the scenario. Because again, the different areas that we're giving ourselves grace in that we talked about at the top of the show, work, in your health journey, right? In romantic relationships, as a parent, that's a big one. In friendships, in business, entrepreneurship, the list can go on, but those are the ones that came to my head. And apparently I haven't been able to think of any more. But in regular life, you can give yourself grace. Excuse me. So the parenting one, I just want to touch on that because while I did not give birth to any children, I did have an opportunity to be an alternative parent to my brother when my mom passed away 7 years ago. Yes, 7 years ago. So I did raise my brother through middle school, high school, completed that journey. And I am really grateful that I got to have that opportunity and that experience because, in addition to teaching me how to give myself more grace, it allowed me to give my mom so much grace. And, unfortunately, she wasn't here to receive it in person here, but I believe in spirit, she 1000% has, because you understand that as parents, and I'm speaking to any parent out there who is feeling stressed, overwhelmed, judging themselves, because I know the hypercritical, super self-critical game. You are doing the best that you can with what you have and what you have experienced, what you learned, how you were raised, and what resources you have available to you. And if you feel like you aren't giving 100% of your all right now, that's also okay, because you also now have steps on how you can get back to that space, right? By following the steps of giving yourself grace. Because once you give yourself grace, it's like a renewed opportunity for you to show up in a way that is more aligned with how you envision yourself to be and the type of parent that you envision yourself as showing up as. So tap into your resources, right? Tap into your community. We don't live in community and operate in community as much as we once did. But as a parent, whether you are in a 2-parent household or you're a single parent, you're co-parenting, you have a community. Hopefully, prayerfully, you have a community. And if you don't have one right now, find you one. Try to be open to attracting one as well, because being in community is another way that will allow you to just experience more grace and give yourself more grace as you see other parents who have similar issues and situations and dilemmas and hiccups and learning curves as you do, that are doing the same thing as you and doing the best that they can, and just giving you an opportunity to see something else, see something different, see something better for yourself, see something more graceful and compassionate. So I don't know why that was on my heart. I don't know if there's a parent watching right now who needed to hear that, but that was for you, from me, from spirit, with love. Okay, y'all. So with that, does anybody else, are there any more comments, questions, concerns, anything anybody wants to share about giving themselves grace? Whether you have struggled with giving yourself grace or you're about to do one of these steps when you leave here today to give yourself grace. Maybe it's just take a nap. Maybe it is to go get you an accountability partner for working out. Maybe you're going to go have a conversation with somebody. Maybe you're going to read a book. Maybe you're going to journal. You're going to take a bath. I don't know. Maybe just have a cup of not chai. If you have any thoughts about that, any comments, anything you want to share, the comment section chat is open for another few minutes. We are going to take our last commercial break before we wrap up the show. So go ahead and help jump in the comments, and we will be right back to close out today's episode. Okay, guys, welcome back. So, as we are wrapping up this conversation about the art of giving yourself grace, I just want to offer you these two additional things that were in my notes that I forgot to say, and so I'm going to say now is when I was talking about the steps, right, about how you can give yourself grace, I mentioned acknowledging your impact, but there's also two other things that I think you get to acknowledge. And so this will kind of be how we just, my final thoughts for the day, if you want to call it. But you also get to acknowledge your needs, right? Acknowledge what it is that you actually need. Because a lot of times, we're running around, and the reason we're not giving ourselves grace, we're judging ourselves, we're criticizing ourselves, or whatever it is, because we haven't actually stopped to think about what we need and what it is that we actually want, and what are the things that we don't like and what are the things that we do like. Because one of the reasons you might not be doing that thing that you should be doing, you have to do, is because you may not actually really need it. You may not actually want it. You might not even like it. You just think that you're supposed to. You think it's something you should do and you have to do, or excuse me, whatever other word, obligatory word that you want to put around that. And so inside of this experience and this sort of adjustment that you're doing for yourself, this is a perfect opportunity for you to actually review and reflect to decide if this thing is even in alignment for you. Is it what you need? Because you could be doing all this work and having all this resistance because the thing that you're working towards or that you're pushing for is not actually the thing that you need. It's not the thing that's going to serve you. It's not the thing that's going to fill your cup or fulfill your soul or fulfill whatever it is that you're looking for. And we did talk about thinking about your desired end goal, right? But it might not be your only path to that goal. It's sometimes we get so hyper focused on one way of doing things and one method, and this is the one path, and it's like, but maybe this is not the path that is really going to serve you and who you are. Yes, it's the path that Joe took, and it might be the path that Sarah took, but what you don't know is that Sarah took path A first, and she had to take path B because path A didn't work for her. But perhaps path A is the path for you and not path B. I think I got that analogy right. I might have messed it up a little bit, but y'all know what I'm trying to say. So the final thought on giving yourself grace is that you also get to take a moment to acknowledge the things that you don't want, the things that you don't like, the things that you actually need, and the things that you actually want, because that's a whole part of this process and experience. So that's that, y'all. As a reminder, next Monday is Indigenous Peoples Day, so we will not be here. Pyro Media's office will be closed in general in acknowledgement and observance of the holiday. There'll be no new episode, but we will be back the following week, which will be the 16th. Yes, if my math is mathing. We will be back on October 16th with another episode of Camille Over Chai. If you want to stay connected with me in the meantime, I'm on the interwebs everywhere. Camille Telicia, the intentional goddess. Pyro Media Network. I'm on all the places, y'all. Theintentionalgoddess.com, theigoddess.com, CamilleTelicia.com. It's all the same things. Y'all can find me there. Message me, connect with me. If you find my email, you could send me an email as well. I think my number is on the website. I take text messages. Let's get connected. I would love if you need some support on this journey of giving yourself grace and taking more ownership, taking your power, changing your life, whatever it is. I would love to support you and offer that assistance to you, and you can connect with me there. Otherwise, y'all, I'm going to wrap up the show. As a reminder, Kwame already put the graphics up. Follow Pyro Media Network, like us, subscribe, stay in the family, get on the text line, text Blaze to the number. There it is, 833-793-2423. Also, join the Patreon, y'all. Become do we have a name for them yet for people on the Patreon, Kwame? I don't know if there's a name yet, but join the Patreon, get in the family, get connected for the exclusive activities. And with that, y'all, that is the end of Camille Over Chai. I will see you guys in 2 weeks. But until then, be blessed, be amazing, be intentional. Thank you so much for being here. I am so grateful for you guys. Bye.